Welcome to Podnutz Pro, episode number 11. Podnutz Pro is the show where we take you from residential IT support, residential computer repair, to small business slash enterprise slash business support, taking you through that step. It's not always easy. It could be confusing at times, and that's why we have experts on the show to help you guys out, and I always learn something as well. First, let's introduce Matt Rainey from ah-computers.com. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Steve. Doing good over here?
Awesome.
Cold, not normal for us, but doing good.
You know, everybody's saying it's cold, and honestly, I'm getting tired of bragging about the weather here. It's just getting boring for me. I'm not even going to do it anymore.
It's usually not cold over here, so it's unusual.
Yeah, that is a little strange, actually.
Whereas I was wearing shorts 2 days ago, and now it's 25 degrees. So.
Right. Yeah, can't complain too much. Lalo Nunez from BetterPCTech.com. What's up, Lalo?
Yo, I will say it is cold because that's because I have the AC up too high.
Yeah, right. You're right next to me. I'm not cold.
At home, not here.
Oh, well, you're not cold right now.
No, I'm sweating, actually.
All right, well, today we're going to talk about, let me pull up the notes. Matt always prepares some excellent notes.
Excellent notes.
And if I'm correct, we're going to be talking about stories of computer jobs that you did and how communication plays a role in that.
Right, definitely.
Right.
Some kind of funny stories, but, it goes back to communication.
All right, why don't you start us off then, Matt?
All right. So we talked about communication before, and communication is good to have, but even if you try your hardest to communicate with your customers, if they don't participate in the communication, things can break down. And their perception is that they just know they're having trouble communicating. They don't know if it's their fault. Really, no one thinks things are their own fault. So even though they're not returning your calls and this and that, they still have a perception of, I'm having a hard time getting a hold of him. It must be his fault. So I got a few example stories, and the first one is this started, 3-4 weeks ago. This one support call, and it makes it a little bit more difficult because they're in Minnesota. This particular client, we're in Louisiana, so it's all remote work. Same time zone, central time zone, so it's not a time zone issue. But he called me one day and he said, his hard drive crashed. We diagnosed over the phone. It definitely was a failed hard drive. So I told him I can't change it over the phone. So you need to either ship it to me, the notebook, or bring it somewhere local.
Okay.
He said, which one would be faster? Of course, I said, well, I don't know what kind of techs you have in your area. I know if you ship it to me overnight, I can replace the drive, reload Windows, ship it back to you, have it the next day if you want to pay for overnight shipping both ways. I said, if you bring it someplace, I can't answer how long they're going to take. So he decided to go bring it somewhere else, locally. He said they'd be faster. So that's fine. He calls me 2 weeks later. Oh, in the meantime, I said, well, do you have another computer that you're going to use? Because it's going to be, a few days at least. Can I set you up on a spare computer or something so you can still work? And he said, no, we don't have any extra computers. I said, okay. So he was just going to not work while his computer was being done. So he calls me 2 weeks later. They finally got his hard drive in and reloaded Windows. And he wants me to set him up.
Okay.
And I wasn't here at the time, so he left me a message, call him. So I called him, get voicemail, leave a message. Call him the next day, leave a voicemail. Hey, call me back, let's get you set up. No call back. I call him again. I called him like 3 or 4 days in a row.
Right.
No call back. He's not ever calling me back. I keep calling him. And in my work order system, I can log all these calls. So I know when I call him. I can tell him the time that I called him, when I leave a message. So finally he calls back 4 or 5 days later, and he tells my receptionist, I haven't heard back from Matt. So she can look and say, well, he's been trying to reach you every day. Is there a better number he can reach you at? Because the one he's been calling is getting voicemail. Oh, no, this is the right number. So I called him back 10 minutes later, voicemail. And it's getting pretty ridiculous.
Right.
So one day the next day his boss calls me, and she says, look, can you call him tomorrow at 11? Yes, I will call him tomorrow at 11.
Did you tell the boss that you've been trying to reach him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He said, well, he's busy. I said, I understand. That's when she said, let's call him tomorrow at 11. Fine. I'll call him tomorrow at 11. Call him at 11. Guess what? Voicemail.
Of course.
Now, what do I do? This is one lesson. They reserved a time, a specific time, 11 o'clock. I'm sitting down in my office. I have a lot of things to do. I had on-site jobs that I could have been doing.
Right.
I had phone calls I could have been making, but I don't know how long they would have lasted. I didn't know if I'd be finished by 11. So I'm not really doing anything, making sure I'm open at 11.
Exactly.
And I get voicemail. What do? I have to bill them for time reserved. I bill them for an hour, time reserved. It,
That probably
you
went
really
over real
can't
well.
have people reserve your time and then not show up. You're going to be talk about lost productivity.
Right.
You can't make that a habit for your customers. I mean, and if they complain about it, well, why you charge me an hour? I didn't even talk to you. Well, I would explain to him if he does complain that he made an appointment. It's things I wasn't able to do at that time. And if you don't really think my time is important, I'm billing for my time they reserved. I mean, that's worth something.
Mhm.
So if they complain, you just need to explain to them, look, my time is important. You reserved it. You got to pay for it.
Yes.
So I got his voicemail, and I told him, hey, I'm here. I'm going to stay here for the next hour. I'm reserving this hour for you. Call me back. He calls me back. No, his boss calls me back the next day. Hey, he didn't hear from you. I said, well, I left a message at 11. I called him at 11. Oh, he didn't get back to the office till 11. I said, right. But he could have called me back. I'm pretty sure your phone's dial out, So she goes, well, he's here now. Can you talk to him now? Yes, that's fine. And she goes, let me transfer you. I get transferred to him. Guess what? Voicemail.
Awesome.
So it's at this point, it's just I left a message saying, look, call me back. I understand that you're having trouble getting in touch with me, but I'm here. So anyway, finally get a hold of him. I mean, this is so many calls later. And when I finally talk to him, you know what he says?
What?
Boy, it sure's hard to get a hold of you.
Well, what was the problem? Was he not getting your calls?
I don't know. And I told him, I said, look, I've called you. I can count on this, 10, 12 times. I said, I called you at our agreed upon time. Your boss transferred me because you were available and I got voicemail. I said, I'm sorry that we're having trouble getting together. I said, but I could not be more available than I have been. I'm here calling you. So he's like, okay, he gets over that I'm hard to get a hold of. But again, it's perception. He knows that we've been trying to get together for a while and we're not able to. Now, he made almost no effort to get in touch with me.
Right.
But it's his perception. It's taken a while to get me on the phone. And you can't fight perception. There's nothing nothing you can do about it. So just don't spend too much time on it. If they raise the point, I explain to them I've been available, but it takes two people to have a conversation.
But you can't make them wrong. Is that what you're saying, or what?
No, you really can't. I mean, I'm not going to argue with him. I explained to him I've been available. I've been calling him. He says, oh, okay, well, yeah. At one point I said, well, you check your voicemail? And I'm not sure what he said. I think he said no. And
That's interesting.
Anyway.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So,
So how did it end up? Did anyone get murdered or what? What?
So he says, I've been thinking he's been down because he wanted me to help get him back up on his computer. Well, he tells me, I've been using the computer for the past few weeks. I say, well, I thought you didn't have a computer to use. You didn't have a spare computer. Oh, yeah, we had a spare computer. I said, okay. So who set you up on that? Oh, I did it. I said, okay. Well, I was going to get it set up for you the right way. I said, how did you do it? So he had Outlook. He had Office on his old computer that was sent off for repair. And he started using Windows Live Mail on this other computer, on a Windows 7 computer.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, now we have to export everything from Windows Live Mail back to Outlook.
And they make that so easy, don't they?
Exactly.
Is it really a nightmare? I mean, I don't think I've ever done that. Seriously?
Yes.
Well, I found a way that's not too bad. So I told him, well, let's get on your old computer. I said we can export that Windows Live Mail to Outlook on your temporary computer, and that way it's all in the PST file. We'll just copy the PST file over to your new computer with Outlook on that one. So that seems pretty easy fix. So there's no Office suite on the computer he's been using.
Okay.
So I figure, well, online it says fully functional trial of Office 2010 Home and Business. That sounds great. Fully functional. Download that, install that. Now he's got a slow internet connection where he is, so this is all taking forever.
Right.
Download that. I go to Windows Live Mail. Oh, and by the way, one thing you cannot do, or you shouldn't do from what I've read, I haven't actually tried it, but this is what I've researched. If you have Outlook and Windows Live Mail, you don't want to do the import from Outlook 2010. You don't want to import from Windows Live Mail. You want to export from Windows Live Mail to Outlook.
Okay.
Because what I've found in some articles is that if you are in Outlook 2010 and you import, you lose all the dates on the emails.
Are you serious?
Like date sent, time sent,
amazing,
date received.
Amazing.
You lose them all. So, but if you go to Windows Live Mail and export to Outlook, you do not lose those dates.
It would probably be nice if both of those pieces of software were made by the same company. Then they would probably make it easier to integrate. They are the same company. Sorry.
It's the same, yeah, right. It's completely different divisions. Of course, they don't talk
excuse
to
my
each other.
Scathing sarcasm. It was not.
Right, I know it's not Apple.
Oh, are you joking?
No, it's serious.
Oh.
So yeah, if you're gonna go from Live Mail to Outlook, export from Windows Live Mail.
Okay.
That's the way to do it, so you don't lose those dates and all the timestamps.
Right.
So I get the trial run and I open up Outlook. It opens fine. I set up his email account and I go to Windows Live Mail and do export, and I can't export to Outlook. It says, MAPI error, no Outlook. Basically, it's not seeing Outlook.
Right.
I go into default programs. Outlook doesn't show up. So there's no MAPI client installed. Outlook is not installed on this computer. So then I do some research, and the fully functional trial of Office 2010 it's called click to run. It's virtualized.
Really?
Meaning you don't actually have a MAPI client installed on your computer.
It's virtualized.
So you can't export to it.
Right.
So that was a waste of time.
Damn.
So I said, well, look, we're going to have to just, like the old Outlook Expressway, we're going to have to copy over the database from Windows Live Mail, copy that to your new computer. So we did that. I go on his reloaded computer, straight back from the tech, wherever he brought it. It's got Windows Vista on it. No service packs. Nothing. No updates. Just a blank reload.
Sweet.
It didn't even have all the drivers loaded. I said, oh. So this is what they gave you? I mean, when I reload a computer, before at least my shop, all the updates are done.
Exactly. That's the way it should be.
I mean, I have a fast internet connection. If I load a computer from scratch, even with no service packs, I can reload everything in under an hour on my internet connection. It's like I sit there watching it. I just do update, go work on something else. When I walk by, next,
Right.
So I gave him some homework. I said, look, I showed him how to run Windows updates. I said, you've got to do all this over and over and over and over and over again, because you can't install Windows Live Mail on Windows Vista unless you have Service Pack 2.
Huh.
So I showed him how. He says, well, I got to do all that. I said, well, I can do it if you want. It's just going to be an hourly charge the whole time I'm connected. Well, how long will it take? I said, on your connection, hours and hours. He said, oh, no. He said, why wasn't this done? I said, well, you need to, wherever you brought it from, you need to ask them that. Their policy may be they don't run updates, apparently, or they forgot to do it, whatever the reason is, you don't have it.
See, and that's sad because, these are the basic things that if you do as a computer technician that will separate you from the rest. I mean, Matt, you're saying that there were no drivers there whatsoever? As far
there was a
as
few.
some were missing?
Whatever Vista recognized, but it didn't have a lot. It had the network card, had a few things, but it had a lot of things in there that weren't recognized.
Yeah.
So and I didn't want to sit on the phone with him for hours and hours watching Windows updates. So I showed him how to do it. This was like 11 o'clock in the morning. He finally emailed me the next day at around 2 in the afternoon. Okay, they're done. So it took him that long to run his updates. So connect back. Then I can load Windows Live Mail. Then I said, okay, well, I don't see Office on this computer. Oh, I don't have Office. I said, well, you had Office before, didn't you? Because you were using Outlook, weren't you? Yes, I was using Outlook. I said, well, that means you had Office, or at least Outlook. So do you have the CDs for that? When you brought it to the shop, they didn't ask you for your Outlook, your Office CDs to reload it? No, 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 they didn't ask for anything. I say, well, can you find it? So he looks, I hear shuffling going around. He says, I can't find it. What do I do? I say, you need to buy it.
Is this guy like? All right, let me stop it for a sec. I understand that this guy's he must be like mentally impaired, but or either that or he's purposely just trying to get to you. I mean, what's up with
I don't
this?
think he was trying to get to me. I think he really just didn't have a clue.
Some people don't, Steve. Some people just don't. They think that when they buy that PC, it all came preloaded by a dwarf, and everything's all good to go.
But here's the thing. This goes back to the shop that he took it at. The hard drive wasn't completely out because wherever he brought it, they did put stuff on an external hard drive for him, and they should have seen that he had Office. They copied over an Outlook PST file. They copied over Word documents, Excel documents. They should have, when they reloaded this computer, they should have, and I would have asked, do you have your Office CDs? He's either, if yes, then we'll load it for you. If no, well, now I can sell you Office.
Right.
So what was that place he brought it to doing? They just didn't care, obviously, or they didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
I mean, if I copy over Word documents, I'm going to, where's your Office suite?
Sure.
It works, so he gets his computer back. He's got to spend a day doing updates. Now he has to spend time looking for his Office suite, which he can't find, which then I had to sell him and download and install for him, which cost him more time
and money.
So this place that he brought it, he in the end he realized he should have just sent it to me.
Is that the moral of the story?
Well, no, the moral is, his communication is very bad.
Right.
Had he was supposed to call me back when he decided what he was going to do. He said, I would call you back and let you know if I'm going to send it to you or not. He never called me back. If he would have called me back, I would have said, look for this, look for this, look for this. If he didn't communicate with me at all. Plus, he should have sent it to me. There's no reason. I would have had it back much quicker. So all this time spent, I finally get it loaded. When you go in from Windows Live Mail to Outlook, it keeps this funny structure. It doesn't import it into your inbox. It doesn't go folder to folder. So after all this Windows Live Mail email was imported to Outlook, I had to go through and move all the emails, all the folders to get the folder structure right again.
Jeez.
In the end, I think it was like 6 hours.
How much per hour? How much an hour?
Nice price.
I'm not sure what their rate is. Either 85 or 95.
And he paid that?
Oh yeah, well he's gonna get a bill.
No, he didn't pay it yet.
Or his company will get a bill. I mean, they're not worried about it. I don't think. It's a big company.
Yeah.
It's just one of their branch offices out of the state. But it would have saved them so much time and so much money if he just would have communicated better with me. I'm trying. I'm trying to help them out.
Yeah.
But when they don't call me back and they go and do crazy things, because I could have pulled this other company when they bought if they could have read the hard drive. There's, of course, tools that you can pull off the Office key code. They should have ran that to pull the Office key code out. So even if he didn't have it, they could pull the code off.
Right.
And, most companies, I have media laying around. I can pull his key code up, reinstall it for him. I wouldn't have to ask him for his media.
Well, what advice do you have? Because obviously you said, like, he should have communicated better to you. Well, he's not gonna. People are not going to be out there communicating good, and they just have poor communication skills, and that's just how they are. So as a tech,
those
what do you
people
do?
Are going to pay more. Those people will pay more.
So, okay.
I'm not going to feel sorry for him that it took so long.
I'm not saying you should.
So,
I'm not saying you should, but there are people out there. You're going to get people like that. I know that's the case.
Right.
So
you have to bill them appropriately. And if they call and complain about the bill, look, it's 6 hours. Why am I getting a bill for $600 because you helped me set up Outlook on a computer?
Right.
Well, that's when because you might not remember in a month after you've done the work order, sent them a bill, they send it to
Right.
process accounts pay. When they finally call to complain, it could be a month or two. You might not remember. That's going back to your good notes that you took.
Yeah, that's what I think too. If you keep the documentation, then you'll have proof, written proof.
And I put how long I put per call, what he did, what I did.
Right.
He ran these updates. So, you can go back and say, well, look, I understand you think it's $600 to set up Outlook, but that's not just what it was.
Right.
Here's everything that was done. Here's how long each step took.
Right.
Now sometimes they're still going to complain, But you say, look, we're a service company. We charge for service. This is how long the service took, and none of this could anyway have been sped up because of the actions that were taken on your end.
Right.
If you would have called us, first, like we had suggested before you send it off somewhere locally, a lot of this could have been avoided. So they may learn after they get a few big bills, which are unnecessary, and that's usually how people learn when they have to pay for it, their mistakes.
Right.
I could say, well, I'm gonna knock off. I'll only charge you 2 hours, but I think 6 hours for how long I took was generous. This is over a month. I forget how many phone calls, and I probably spent more time on the phone than 6 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you actually spent more than 6 hours. And what Matt's saying, well, but two things. One, as we said on almost every show, documentation is key. If Matt didn't have the documentation, he couldn't produce the evidence saying, "Hey, I called you at this time on this day, and I did this." Second of all, I forgot that second point. So go ahead, Steve.
Well, if you don't have documentation, you may be not billing enough. You may think, well, how long did I spend on that? Maybe 2 hours. So you may be billing 2 hours, not realizing how much time you actually spent on it.
Right. Okay.
So it benefits you because you're capturing all of your time to make all of your time billable, and it proves to them when they get the bill what you did.
Right.
So if you just charge 2 hours, they may still complain about 2 hours.
Oh, sure.
Why is it 2 hours? And if they call you, you have no idea. You say, well, it took me longer than that. Well, how much longer did it take? Well, I don't know, but it took me longer. Without documentation, you can't justify, you can't remember. You may think a month later, well, did it only take me an hour? Maybe I should have billed 2 hours.
All right.
But in fact, you just lost 4 hours of your day or days.
Exactly. And what Matt is describing, it happens all the time. I've told people, because I used to have my business while I worked the full time, so I would tell them, I'll support you, but during these hours, I'm unavailable. These people will still call me. After I told them I'm unavailable, I gave them like a window that they couldn't call me. I'm down. Can you come help me out? And blah, blah, blah. And you're not returning my phone calls. And didn't you remember that I'm not available? Yeah, but I figured that you would answer your phone.
That's a great answer.
Right. And of course, remember the number one rule when supporting businesses, they will ignore what they want and remember what they want and think what they want.
That's true.
They have no clue. They don't care about. They care about their business running correctly. So it doesn't matter. A lot of times, what they remember, what they care about, they want their business. They don't care if, I don't have a service agreement with you, and I know that you do a priority queue and service providers come first. But when I call, I want you to answer my call. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if you want that level of service, here's how we can provide it, and here's how we can provide it. No, I don't want to pay for it. Sometimes it's just going to happen, and the only way to deal with them is say, look, we do the best we can. We put you, we goes in a queue, which sorted by first come, first serve, with an adjustment for how serious the problem is. Obviously, if your service down and you don't have a service agreement, but somebody else calls and they can't print, but they called before you, well, you're going to be bumped up. But if somebody called with a server issue before you, they're going to be first. You're going to be second.
Right. Exactly. What Matt is saying, always stand your ground. Because if not, the guy that you're going to cave into will call you. I guarantee. At night, on the weekends, he'll have the worst possible problems. Always stand your ground, especially if you're right. So.
Oh, exactly. You give in once, they know that they can have their way with you.
Exactly.
Just like in normal human relations.
Right. This is another story. I had a call.
Is this story number 2 on the notes?
No, this is 4.
Oh, before you start another one, I'm gonna do a quick commercial here.
Okay.
As you guys may have known, I've talked about it in a couple other shows. Lalo made a set of videos, and he has a product I want to introduce tonight, and give you some more information about it because I think that you guys might really like this. And if you go to betterpctech.com, I'm putting it up on the screen now, betterpctech.com. This is a product for technicians. I'll do my little thing on it, and then Lalo could say whatever he wants about it. This is a product for technicians that has many tools that a computer repair technician or an IT person can use to increase their productivity and increase their efficiency and speed up things in their life. Basically, there's tools to automate tasks. This is all in video form, by the way. There's tools to automate tasks. There's ways to, did you ever try to get somebody, a customer, to install Log Me In so you could get into his machine? There's an automated way of doing that he goes over. It's a special way that he devised, which is brilliant. Installing device drivers, installing anti-spyware when the malware is actively blocking it from being installed. There's a way to get around that. Windows updates, how to get around just sitting around for hours downloading and installing and updating. If you go to betterpctech.com, we just put the site together. He just went live today with it, and you could buy the videos, and I encourage you to do so. Lalo, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. What I did is I took the tools that I use on a daily basis, or tools I've learned over the 12 years, and I just put them all together, and hopefully they can benefit you. I used to train computer technicians back in Chicago, so and I would share a lot of these tools or same concepts. But over time, I learned to automate a few things, like if Steve was saying, installing drivers, Windows updates, and I go over a few things that if you're not doing now, will just shave time off a job. So I mean, because who wants to, like Matt was saying, sit in front of a PC and do updates for hours or something?
Exactly. Looks like the gist of this, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes.
is automating things that would take you forever to do, basically.
Yes.
Speeding up things, making it so. I guess, I mean, I'm figuring you've devised these because you've sat there training guys and had to sit in front of a computer and go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm, like that type of thing.
Exactly.
So you found ways to automate those actions.
In fact, during my daytime job, and I work for the government, and one of my tasks is to automate things so a physical body doesn't have to be in front of it. So
yeah, it's brilliant. They are instantly downloadable videos, guys. Might have some DVDs in the future, but you could literally buy them and get them immediately. So I always enjoy that. I'm very impatient. So check it out. It's at betterpctech.com. You'll be hearing more about that. Anything else? Oh, did I miss anything?
No, you gotta know.
All right. All right, Matt.
Cool. That sounds pretty cool.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So back to standing your ground. You're gonna get customers that are gonna call you and demand service right away. I've had, and it happens all the time. I don't know why. We tell clients, if you're making changes to your network, that includes your internet service, it's best to call us and coordinate those changes. I have customers, and happened again this week. I think once this week and one last week. Clients call and they say, we can't get on the internet. Okay. Well, let's see what happened. Well, we changed ISPs. Well, okay. You got a static IP with Exchange server. So, yeah, I said, we need to make changes. Well, we're down the water. Can you come right now? Well, obviously they knew they were changing ISPs before they called.
Right.
I mean, they called the other company. The other company came out. They hooked up at least they dropped the service in. They didn't cut the router. They dropped the service in. They called and canceled the other internet service before this one was functional. And then they called us, basically telling us in a not so nice way, you need to get out here right now. Irate, why can't we get online? Well, you changed your internet provider. We have to you have to coordinate that with us. So he's saying, oh, and I hate the phrase dead in the water. I hate that phrase. It's one of my phrases that I hate, that and ASAP.
Yeah.
So anyway, dead in the water. Why be dead in the water? I mean, it's pretty graphic. Anyway. So I'm calling him, I said, look, I'm going to be out there. I want to say it was like 10:30. And I said, look, I'm going to come out there. I can be out there by about 1 o'clock. He says, well, that's not good enough. We're completely down. He said, we've been down, for 4 hours, which it didn't really add up. And then I'm thinking, well, if you've been down for 4 hours, why didn't you call 4 hours ago? So I almost said, so you waited 4 hours to call us? I bit my tongue though.
Yeah.
And I said, I understand you're down. I understand. And the reason I'm going to be able to come out there about 1 o'clock is because I'm bumping to the top of my list, putting other people below you, because I understand you have an issue, but I can't stop what I'm working on right now and leave this customer's office to go work on your issue, which could have been avoided if we had had, if we had been in the loop on this. So he said, okay, well, as soon as you can, and when I said that, he got much nicer. Okay, well, as soon as you can, just so you know we're down, you know. So his attitude got a little better on the phone rather than trying to say, no, you stop what you're doing and come right now. So I went out there and I got there about 12, a little bit earlier than about an hour earlier than I told him, and he was happy to see me. So I get him set up, and the company that he switched to, they didn't give him what they needed. They didn't give us the static IP. They didn't give him anything. So we had to call the company, get the static IP to put in the router, and I know how he was on the phone with me. He was 10 times worse on the phone with those people.
Wow.
He was yelling, cursing, screaming.
Wait, man. Wait. So these people came through, hooked up their equipment, and said, "Have a good day."
Yeah, basically. And I said, so when I got there, I said, okay, well, we need the IP address. We need this, this, and this. Did they leave it to you? No, they didn't leave me beep, And I was like, well, okay, we're going to need to call them then because we need the information to program the router. Oh, he went off. He called him. He's cursing and screaming. And I'm just sitting there just sitting there thinking, God, if he'd have been that way with me on the phone, I would have, you got to, like I said, stand your ground, But with them, it kind of was their fault. They didn't give him what he needed.
Right.
And he knew it was their fault because I told him it was their fault. I said, they should have given you a paper with this stuff. So he went off. He was yelling and cursing. So we finally got him back up, and boy, he was mad. And then, changed an ISP. They don't have an Exchange server, actually, but they do have some other things that are hosted in site for their static IP. But one thing they have is a scanner that scans the email. And you got to change the outgoing mail server in this thing. And I'm trying to find, this is some brand I've never even heard of. I'm trying to find out how to do it in the console. I said, look, can we call, you have tech support in this thing? Oh, yeah. So he thought he had tech support on this device. He thought he had a maintenance agreement. So he calls the company, and when they tell him they're going to bill him, he goes off again. Now he's yelling and screaming at these guys.
So he's a George Steinbrenner of, your clients.
And see, it might not have been as bad, but, and again, so what you don't know is when customers call and they're mad at you, you don't know if they're really mad at you or they might just be having a bad day.
Right.
Very true.
Because had we would have called this company under other circumstances and found out that he didn't have a service agreement, he might not have been as mad, but he was already mad.
I got to say, it's like you guys said, stand your ground. And I don't do all the business clients that you do, Matt, but you have to stand your ground, but you have to be polite. If you think about it, it doesn't matter. You're going to get paid for the work you do. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. And you have to, don't cross that fine line, because once you start swearing or whatever the case may be, now it's your fault. You are the professional. You stand your ground. Because a lot of times what Matt's also saying, after the fact, like the first guy that he dealt with, I guarantee in 5 years, he's going to check his voicemail box and see 25 voicemails from Matt and go, oh, well, I was wrong. At some point, you got to be a professional about it, because like Steve's saying, you're going to send a bill and you're going to
get paid, and it's worth it. I think it's worth it more. I know in my business, I had some crazies come in. I had some crazy people come in, and it's not worth it to get angry and to make. I never wanted anybody to leave on a bad note, even if it's my fault. I'll tell. Or if I didn't want to do business with them, I wouldn't go tell them to F off. I'd be like, sorry, I can't help you. I think you should go talk to somebody else. But I think it's a bad idea to get in bad relations with any of your customers, no matter how crazy they are. You can either shove them off and say, sorry, I can't help you, or help them and be polite and kind of suck it up and take the money. But you got to, I think it's bad for business if you create angry situations with clients, because it's just not how you do business. Yeah, you're in business to make money, and that's going to stop you from making money. So if you got to look at it long term, no matter what your emotions are telling you right now.
Sure, I have my little share of stories, but I'll wait till Matt. I'll finish it though.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, the people he was talking to, he was mad. He's mad at them, but they never lost their cool.
Okay.
And I didn't. When I talked to him on the phone, I told him, I understand.
Right.
I understand you're down. That's why that's why I'm bumping you up. So I gave him that. So that might think, okay, it's a victory for me. I'm not as mad now. When I told him I couldn't get out until about 1, he was very mad. when I told him I'm bumping you up, that's why I'm even able to make it out there by one. It was a little victory for him. He wasn't mad,
Right.
but he should have heard him with these other customers.
And that's
And then he hands me the phone. Look, you talk to my tech guy. So I gotta talk to him.
I love that line.
talk to
So
my
I'm like,
tech
you know,
guy.
so I'm like, hey, yeah, you know, I'm nice as can be, and they're probably thinking, thank God I'm not talking to that guy anymore. You know, because I don't care that, you know, we need the IP, we'll call and get it. You know, I don't care if we have it or not. I'm just gonna call him. But you know, he's yelling and screaming at this guy saying, I'm paying so much an hour, and I've been on hold, and I just paid $42.50 to sit here and be on hold because he's charging me, you know. And actually, then he says, "That's your rate, right?" I didn't have the heart to tell him that we raised our rates at the first, so I just told him, "Yeah, I think so."
Sure. Okay.
I
So-
think so.
It's around that price. Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. It wasn't the right time to bring it up,
Right.
but you know, we got him set up. But this printer thing, while he's yelling and screaming at them because they want to charge him to service, you know, the machine, which you know they should. If he doesn't have a service agreement,
Right.
Sure.
you know, it should. You know, finally, you know, I'm playing with it, and I finally find the settings, and I told him, I got it. He says, you know what? Thanks anyway. And he hangs up. You know, sets the phone down. You know, as nice as can be to me, but you should have heard him screaming and yelling. That was pretty funny. I just, you know, and that happens. You know, I'm in a lot of offices where somebody's screaming for something. You know, either I'm in the boss's office and he's screaming at an employee, or he's screaming at another customer or vendor.
Right.
You know, I'm just sitting there, you know, trying to pretend like I'm deaf, basically.
Right.
But the funniest is when they're screaming for stuff that like makes no sense. Like one time, I was in the office and the receptionist had forgot to order the water jugs, and the dude was like, "Why is there no water? I don't understand." It was so funny to me because he was screaming about water.
Oh man, you should have heard me scream about water.
Uh-oh.
And not, I didn't do it to like an employee or whatever, but Crystal Springs. Have you guys ever had that? I still have it, by the way. I gotta hear it. In
That's in
Philly,
Hot Springs.
in Philly, they screwed me over so bad. I went outside and I screamed about water for about 20 minutes. All right.
I think Crystal Springs is based in Hot Springs, and I think I've been to their headquarters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I gave them an earful. They hate me. As long as they
That
don't ship me like yellow water. So you got to be careful when you're
Uh.
when you're mad at companies that have consumables that you consume. You don't want to really piss them off because you don't know what they're going to be doing in your water.
And that's
Yeah,
why,
yeah.
a quick point, if you're at a restaurant, I tell people this all the time, and it boggles me that they don't grab this concept. You don't complain till after you get your food.
Exactly. I'm with you on that.
I'm just saying.
Right. I don't complain. I just don't give them a tip.
In fact, you owe me $2.
do you really not tip? I have such a hard time not tipping. Like, even if the service is bad, I give them a little tip. But I really, Matt, you've not tipped?
See, okay, this is not tech, but it's tipping philosophy, okay? I start with your tip is 0. Okay? Your tip is 0 at the beginning. When I sit down, you have no tip, okay? You've got to earn that tip. So if you want to get to 15%, you got to earn it. You don't
Yeah.
start at 15 and work your way down. Okay?
So what if you leave the meal early? They did not work their way up? Or is it not their fault?
Well, it depends on how it would that to that point.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
You know.
That's
You know.
that's good.
And my wife is opposite. She'll leave you 20% if they slap her. She'll leave 20%.
If they slap her.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want to her. Spill a tray
Yeah.
of food on her.
What? Thank you.
I'm sorry. Did I trip you? Is it my fault? You know, I'm like, ah, jeez.
Yeah, I can't do it. I cannot tip. I agree they have to earn their tip, but I don't start at 0. I mean, like, I know what you're saying, but if the service is bad, then I think that they have the responsibility to give me good service. So I don't tip highly for that. But yeah,
They got to earn it. They got to earn it.
nice.
Now, if they earn it, I'll tip very well. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not,
Of course.
you know, tipping. That's always a conversation at the dinner table at a restaurant with people, especially my wife, but especially when there's bad service. Because then she like sits at the table for 20 minutes longer, not wanting to leave because I didn't leave a tip.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. And I tell her, well, you're making it worse because no one else can sit here. He has no opportunity to make a tip at this table while you're sitting here. So if you want to do him a favor, let's just leave right now. Better luck next time. You know?
The chat room saying even at the Waffle House.
No. At the Waffle House, I start.
You don't tip at the Waffle House, do you?
Yeah, man. What's wrong
I
with
thought
you,
there's
man?
I thought there was a no tipping place. No.
No, I tip at the Waffle House. I get a VIP treatment, but I digress.
Back to you, Matt.
All right.
He,
So
he,
you know,
does, he does get VIP treatment, by the way. I've seen him. But back to you, Matt.
and it's also not customers getting mad at you sometimes. Sometimes other vendors will get mad at you. And I made 2 vendors mad this week. I get a company call me. They're saying, "Oh, we got new network printers, and he's having trouble setting them up." Well, okay. Again, I've told y'all. I'm telling the customer, okay. Well, remember, if you're getting stuff that attaches to your network, it's best to check with us because we can avoid these issues. He had been there all day fiddling with this stuff. And first of all, printer techs, I'm sure they're very good printer techs who know what they're doing. It always seems the printer techs I deal with have no clue what networking is. And I don't understand that because they're network printers. And they tell people things like, we don't do networking. Okay, it's a network printer. Okay, not all printers plug into USB ports. So I'm on the phone with this girl, and I'm telling her, oh no, she hands the phone to the printer tech. And I say, okay, we need to give a reservation for this printer. He says, I already got an IP. I said, well, where did you get an IP from? He said, well, I put it on DHCP. I got an IP address. So then I set my machine to that IP as static. I said, well, we can't do that because now you're assigning a static IP to a device, and that IP is in my DHCP pool.
Exactly.
So now if somebody else comes in and tries to get that IP address, it's going to cause conflicts on the network. I said, so I need to give you a reservation that's outside of the DHCP scope. And I said, so go put it back on DHCP and power cycle it, and that way I can look in DHCP and pull the MAC address. So he put the phone down to go walk downstairs, and the girl I was talking to picked up, and she said, whatever you said, he is PO'd. He is slamming things around. He's mumbling under his breath. He slammed the door when he walked out. I said,
how did you say it to him?
Just like that. I said, I need to do a DHCP reservation for an IP that's out of the scope. I said, we can't have a static IP for that printer that's in the DHCP scope. It's going to cause issues. I said, so we need to change it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I said. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to walk downstairs, I guess. He was mad.
Was he Mel Gibson? Just screaming down the hallway?
I wish I could have seen it, but she said he is really, really mad. And,
so what do you do? So what do you do?
He did what I told him because, he asked it.
But what do you do about that? Like now you have an enraged customer.
Well, he's a vendor, so he's actually servicing this company too. He's an outside vendor also.
Okay.
Just supplying the printer. He's not my customer. He's just bringing a printer to my customer's office.
I see.
So, how's that look? How's that make him look? Because he's in there bringing a printer. He's at a customer's office.
Exactly.
And he's pissed, throwing things around, mumbling under his breath, slamming the doors. I mean, that's not looking good. He's not making himself or his company look good. And my customers who also hired them to bring this printer in know that this guy has an attitude problem. So they're not happy with that guy. So, he has a bad attitude at a customer's office, which is what you want to avoid.
Sure.
Why is he getting mad because he has to go power cycle the printer?
He probably has his reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is downstairs.
He probably didn't get it. He probably has a day job as a waiter, and the guy didn't tip him.
Yeah, and what?
I don't understand. I could say, well, I can try and you can't make everybody happy. Don't try and make everybody happy. I'm there to make things work correctly.
Right. You got to stand your ground. And for those of you that are watching or listening, and when you set up a DHCP scope, like for example, you'll start at, I said all the printers, all the devices, anything with a static IP, so the IP does not change. I'll use 192.168.1 to maybe 50. So those do not get used by anybody else. Then you'll have a DHCP scope where if you hook up your computer, you'll get an IP. I like to start that at 200s, just so if I ever do an IP config and I see 200 and something, I know it's part of the DHCP scope. So Matt's boy here just plugged it in, got 201 and said, I'm gonna go ahead and use that. Of course, the network is not configured in that way.
Huh.
So if someone were to come and plug in their PC, the DHCP is gonna give you 200, and now you have a conflict.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. And actually, next show, what I want to talk about is actually IP, like picking your IP network. You know, like you said, 192.168.1 dot something. Picking what you're going to use for your network, and what that can affect, and DHCP.
Right.
So, because it might be you might think it's a small choice. I was going to pick 1.1 for my network or 1.x. Well, that can affect a lot of things. I want to talk about that next show, but that some people don't realize how much it affects
Right.
picking the IP scheme.
Very important.
Yeah, and then a last story. Right, this might be a continuing story for a while if people want to know. But I got a call. I used to work for this company 5 or 6 years ago. We used to work for this specific company, and they were a mess. They were a mess back then. They didn't take any of our suggestions on how to get them working smoothly, to minimize downtime. They didn't want to spend any money. They didn't want to make any changes. So it was all, when this breaks, we go out and have to try and figure out what's wrong with it and, put Band-Aids on it. Well, a while back, they said they got somebody in the house. They got somebody who worked there and knew somebody, so they got him.
Okay.
Well, I get a call the week before New Year's from this company again saying, yeah, I think we need to have you come back in and start doing our work again. Can you give me a call? And I was on vacation that week. So, still, it's a big customer, and I'm on vacation. So, yeah, I call him. I call him just because I want him to know I'm gonna get with him after the New Year. I called him every day the week before New Year, voicemail every time, every day. Finally, the day before New Year, he answers. I've been letting him know, hey, I've been trying to reach you. And a lot of times I don't say, hey, I've been trying to call you, you never call me back. I don't put it that way. I put, hey, I've been trying to call you on this number for a few days. Is there a better number for me to contact you at than this number?
Right.
That way they might think, okay, well, yeah, he's been calling me. I'm not blaming them. I'm just asking if there's a better contact number, kind of a different way.
Yeah, it's a good way of doing it.
So, he says, oh, no, this is the right number. It's the right number. Okay, great. So I said, well, look, I'm on vacation. How about we meet the Monday after New Year? Oh, that's great. Give me a call. We'll set up a day and time. I call him, voicemail. I called him every day for 2 weeks. Got voicemail every day. He never called me back. So I figured, well, okay, this client's not they weren't serious. They don't really want us to do their work for them anymore. So I wrote it off. I'm not going to call him anymore. He calls me last week. They're down. So he wants to talk to me. He didn't want to talk to me because he's down. He wants to talk to me about taking over their work because he's tired of being down all the time. So he told my receptionist, hey, you can tell Matt now's a good time for him to come over and talk to me. I've been trying to talk to you for 3 weeks.
Yeah, about that.
So, yeah. So I finally have a meeting with him. I go over there, and I talked to him on the phone. I said, look, last time I was there, things weren't really optimal, is a nice way to put it. So I know we're all screwed up. He said, we're worse off now than we were then. I said, well, okay, I'm not sure that's possible, but we'll come look at it. So I go over there and look at it. This is going to be a job. I mean, this is a company that's a pretty big company. They've got offices out of state, branch offices in other parts of the area, in the state. No one knows how anything is set up. They don't know who their internet provider is. They don't know who's hosting their email. They log into a domain that doesn't exist.
It's weird.
I mean, I think they used to have one, but it's just like cached credentials. Half of them log in locally because there's no domain account. It's a complete mess. And I said, we need the first step in this. If you go into a place like this, the first step is to document what we can. And I told him that I can't make any changes. We need to document everything. I want to document who your ISP is, how you're connected to your other offices. Is it point to point? Is it VPNs? Fiber connections. We need to document everything. He says, well, how do we do that? I say, well, that can be a chore. Okay, you've got people that take care of this now. They don't know that they're going to be out of a job pretty soon. I said, get what you can out of them. Ask them to identify. There's routers and switches all over the room. Some are plugged in, some aren't. I said, well, first of all, have them document what every one of these switches is for. What's the IP? What's the login? Is it doing a VPN? Is it just a router to the internet? What's it doing? We need to document everything. That's going to be a chore, a big chore. So I'm waiting for him to call me back with the first phase. And I said, they're not going to be able to answer these questions, I don't think. Because when something goes down, he said they might lose internet. It might be down for 2 weeks. Because no one knows what's what.
2 weeks?
Yeah, because they have no internet for 2 weeks. Now, they have a backup internet connection. So in the meantime, they might go around and change everybody's default gateway to go off the other internet connection. But their main feed is down. So, one, there's a problem with that. You shouldn't be doing that. Your router should have failover. So it's such a mess. No one knows what's going on. Half of them are on static IPs. Half of them have one router doing DHCP on a different network. They can't. All the files are stored locally. Nobody backs anything up. There's no antivirus anywhere. Some of them are infected. I mean, it's a complete mess. It's a complete mess. Now, on the good side, he says, I know it's going to take money to fix this. He said, we're ready to spend the money.
That's always good to hear.
Yes. He said, so whatever you recommend, I've already got approval from the boss, the owner, that we're going to do it. So that's good. So like I told them, they're not going to know what all this stuff is for. And that's fine. That's fine when they don't know. We're just going to, I want to know what they do know. And then from that point on, we'll come in and we'll identify what everything is.
Right.
And, he understands this could be quite an undertaking. He's not having any illusions that it's going to be a quick fix. He actually said, well, how long would this take? About a year to get all straightened out?
Wow.
I said, I don't think it's going to take quite that long. I said, it all depends on how fast we can get, approval for equipment and this and that. I said, it shouldn't take that long. If you want to fast track it, I'm sure we can have it all done in a month or two. If you approve these invoices and approve the equipment and go with it.
Matt, how did these guys find out about you? Word of mouth?
I used to work back when I was assistant network administrator 15 years ago.
Yeah.
At that accounting firm. He worked there too.
Oh, okay.
So he left on and went on to go do other things, and I left, and so that's how I knew him. That's how he did work for them years ago too. So I still knew him.
I see the last line of your notes here. Do they really have a company jet?
Yes. So.
Oh, were you getting to that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So they have other offices in other states.
Right.
And he says, do you need to go to these other offices? And I said, well, they're just branch offices. I said, I don't think I need to go. It's just a few computers at a branch office. I just need to know how they're connected. Are they connected with a VPN? Is it a point-to-point? I just need to know how it's connected so when it goes down, I know how to troubleshoot it. He said, well, I think the best thing is we'll just take the jet and we'll just go over there.
Damn.
Oh, man.
I said, well, that works for me too, if that's the way you want to do it. So we'll be taking the private company jet a few places to check out little offices.
Sweet. That is awesome.
He said, it's just cost money, right? I said, just the hourly rate. I said, that's all it is.
I want to take a jet. I might get into IT again if I could take jets.
Now, I've never got a jet to go. I've taken boats to go offshore rigs, helicopters to offshore rigs.
Damn, you got a podcast from the jet.
Yeah, but never a jet. That'll be fun.
That'll be
fun.
Cool.
Usually just driving somewhere. We've driven as far as, Dallas or different parts of Texas.
Yeah.
But the jet's nice. I might require all my out-of-state clients to provide.
Yeah, there you go. Good job.
That would be great. I would actually make it a requisite for all future customers. Like, do you guys have a jet? No, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Ooh, that's a deal breaker.
We're not doing that small potato stuff.
Do you know who I am? Oh man. All
but
right.
the people that have been doing this work, again, they're losing this account because when they call him, it might take. He tells me 2 weeks to call him back. I can't put all the blame on the company that he's dealing with because it took me a long time to get hold, and I'm calling every day.
Right. That might be a nightmare. As long as he's your contact point, that might turn into a nightmare.
Well, he is the contact, But if he's dedicated to doing this, as long as he's paying the bills, if it's his fault, that's fine. And I suspect that they're down a lot. So when they're down a lot, it's that much more motivation to get the stuff working quickly.
Sure.
Right.
Especially once we kick them out the way, because once they're out, it's all us to have to research how they got this stuff fixed. So
Right.
it'll be a fun job, and that'll be going on for a while. And I can't imagine a worse place. And there's one vendor who does provide a server to them. The vendor manages that server by themselves. They don't need any outside help. That's their server. They manage it. He told them, "This is the worst setup I've ever seen." He said, "Whoever's taking care of this stuff," he said, "one, you need to replace them, and two, I feel sorry for somebody who's taking this over."
Wow.
So he heard that from somebody else, so he knows that it's a big job that we're taking over. So
when I would go to job interviews, when I used to do network administration, part of the job interview, I would ask them if I can see their telecom, the closet, because that was a good indication how neat their wires were, patch panels and switches. When I opened the door and the Cat 5, Cat 6 cables are like, almost bulging out of the closet, I'm like, man, this is a tough job.
That's a good indication. It's like the state.
No, it is. I mean,
way to judge the state of sanity of a company.
No, and I agree. And my closets were always nice and tight, with the tree trunk, and the ports were all had labels, so you can. I mean, like the worst thing is to grab like a toner, and you're walking around the office going, doop, doop, doop. And, they're trying to find where that patch cable terminates in. Some people just don't know, but but after doing it for so long, there's only one way to do it, and do it right.
Nice.
yeah, and in places where like this company we're taking over, one thing we'll have to do is we'll have to go test all these cables and locate them and label them, and that's a lot of time we're taking over. If the cable's a mess like that, one of the first things we'll do is we'll go we'll redo all the cabling. Maybe not, we'll test the cable. If it needs to be rerun, we'll rerun it. Otherwise, we just re-terminate it, make it neater, label it.
Right.
Because if something's not working, it's much easier to know if it's labeled. We just had a job last week where I had to spend, I think we built in like 20 hours. We had to redo every cabling in the whole building. I mean, that was a mess.
Damn.
But they understood things haven't been working for quite some time. And when I troubleshooted it down to the cables, I said, we need to redo all these cables. And, we redid the cables. They haven't had a problem since. So, I mean, pretty sure they think it's money well spent.
Right.
It's a big bill, but they've been having problems for years, and they would never let us do it until finally they had problems that we couldn't resolve without doing it. So
cool.
Sometimes the customers don't want to take your advice. I mean, I know it's money can be tight, and it's not great. I don't want nicer cables. What's that going to do for me? Well, they had pins were shorted, they weren't punched down correctly. It's not that it's just not pretty, it's not functional.
Right.
So customers don't know what they want. You have to advise them, and they take your advice. They might not, but if they do, make sure it's the right advice.
Right. I like the theme of this episode. It definitely is communication is the key, is how you put it in your email. It's totally right. It's totally right. It's like the most important thing, actually.
I agree.
Yeah, and be careful how you say it, because like I told this customer, the client, the cables were a mess, and they were having these connectivity issues. And I didn't tell them, because I never say things definitely. Never speak in definite.
Right.
I said the first step is to redo the cabling. I suspect the cabling. I said I can't rule it out. I do have cables that are failing. I suspect the cabling. The first step is to redo all the cabling, and then we'll go from there. I don't say the cabling is the problem, because then if I spend 20 hours redoing cabling, plus all the parts, patch panels, the jacks, all that time, and it doesn't fix the problem,
yeah,
what am I going to do? I'm going to look like an idiot, first of all, for wasting my time and theirs, and then I can't bill for it, because they said, no, you told me that was the problem, and it wasn't the problem. So I tell them, this is the first step in troubleshooting the issue. After this is done, we'll monitor from there.
Right.
Good advice.
So they don't have expectations of, this will solve all my problems. They understand it's the first step. So always be careful how you say things to people. You don't want to, when I make appointments with clients, I never tell somebody, I'll be there at 10 a.m. I rarely say that, rarely, because things come up. I'll say I'll be there tomorrow morning, sometime in the morning before noon.
Yeah.
I don't give them and I still get calls. I still get calls at 8 a.m. Where are you? I'm at my office. You told me you'd be here first thing. No, I believe what I said is I'd be there before noon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
You should have been like, yeah,
Oh,
I'm out drinking a beer.
Yeah. You woke me up. What is it?
You woke me up.
What the hell is this?
So and that's not all companies are going to have receptionists at full time. I put in my notes, told him I'd be out there before noon. So when they call, the receptionist takes a call and they say, hey, he said it'd be here at 8. She could look in the notes and see that I told him I'd be out there before noon.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not even bugged with it. She just says, oh, well, he says he'd be up by noon.
At least you're not Sears, who says I'll be there on Saturday. My my landlord's getting a new dishwasher put in, which that was a fiasco trying to convince him I needed one. I had to do a live demonstration. I had to dirty a dish and do a live demonstration to prove to him that it didn't work. Finally, I proved it, and so they're coming out on Saturday. He's like, yeah, they didn't say when, and they couldn't give me exact time. Just, can you be around all day Saturday? And I'm like, you son of a-"
Well, sometimes I do. I might say I'll be at this time tomorrow.
You
But
do.
you know what?
You're fired.
Yeah, because they're not waiting on me. I mean, they're at work. They're going to be there anyway.
Right.
I'm not making somebody go out of their way. They're going to be at their office.
Right.
So if it's a minor issue, I can't, when I scan, I can't, whatever it is, I can't print to this printer. Well, okay, you can print to other printers. Other people can print to that printer.
Yeah.
It's not a pressing issue.
Right. Or it's
I'll put it on my schedule for tomorrow. And if they say, well, what time? I say, well, I really can't tell. I have other jobs in front of you. I hate to give you time because I don't want to be wrong. I just know that you're on my queue for tomorrow.
That's nice of you.
So, and if I can't show up, if it's like 2:00 in the afternoon and it's looking like I won't make it, call them. Hey, look, these other jobs took longer than expected. I'll be out there the next morning.
Yeah.
Customers like the calls. If you just ignore them and don't call them, they're just gonna get mad.
Communication.
And then when they get mad, they're not happy. No matter what you do at that point, it's gonna make them feel better.
Yeah.
But at least if you keep them in the loop, they'll appreciate it. If they get that call, look, things came up. They understand things come up. Things come up in their business too.
Totally, man. When I was in my shop, I called so many times to be like, look, it's not done yet. I just wanted to give you a call, and always, oh, not a problem. Thanks for calling. Just if you keep the communication
Exactly.
in, you're okay.
But if you don't call them,
Screwed.
they're just gonna get upset.
Yeah.
You didn't call me. You said you'd be here today, and you didn't show up till the next morning. It makes it a big deal. But if you called them, not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Well,
And
I don't.
if they make a big deal about it, that's when you can always bring up the service agreement.
It's in writing.
Yeah.
written communication.
Yeah.
I don't have any emails and voicemails, so we're not gonna do that this week. If you guys do want to contact the show, send us an email at mail@podnutz.com. Send us a voicemail. You call on a regular phone, 7076 Podnut. I don't know what numbers they are, but it's 7076 Podnut is the number you call on a regular phone. We'll look forward to your emails and voicemails. We need some more content here, guys. Come on, ask us some questions. We'll get Matt and Lalo too.
Email us.
Email us. We need it.
Yeah, and I have some people that either on the forums or they email me asking about that domain admin reset script.
Yes.
It's a bunch of different scripts. So it's not like it's one text file that I can just copy the text and put it online. You can save it as a batch file. So I mean, if you want that, just email me at matt@podnutz.com, and I'll send that. It's a zip file with a bunch of scripts in it. I'll email that out to you.
Sounds good.
I don't know where to post it unless you have somewhere to post it. I don't know where to post it, so it's just easier if you just email me. I'll just reply back with the zip file.
Yeah, let's do that for now. There's not like a Podnutz repository as of yet. What? Anything else, Matt?
That'll be it. I'll go out in the cold and go home.
All right. So like Matt said, you can reach him at matt@podnutz.com. If you want to email him. I strongly suggest you email him and bug him and ask him anything you want.
Right. Thanks.
He doesn't have anything else to do in his life.
He will put you in his queue.
He will answer it next week. Lalo, where can people find you?
Real quick, I had just one little story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. I'm sorry.
To let's support what you and Matt are saying, communication is key. Went to Walmart last night, did some shopping, bought the dogs some treats, and I always buy 2 24-packs of the water.
Yeah.
So, of course, the old lady at the Walmart that wants to check your receipt, I finally found out what she checks for. She checks if you paid for both of your waters. So she stops me and she goes, "Sir, you did not pay for a water." I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "You only paid for one." I said, "No, that's incorrect." And then she said, she looked at me kind of confused. I go, "No, I paid for my water. Your cashier forgot to ring up the other one." So what the whole point of that story is, the way she said it is like, I put this 24-pack of water, hauled butt to the front door so I can leave. No, your cashier forgot to ring it up. It wasn't my fault, but communication.
Yeah, the wording can
Wording's important.
It's really important. Especially in that case, it totally assigns blame to you, the thief, the water thief of Walmart.
Yeah, the water thief of Walmart. I can get all the water that I want at the Waffle House. I don't need Walmart. So,
Yeah, choose your words carefully. If it's okay to take a breath before you say anything and think about what you're about to say.
Yes. And like I said too, maintain good relations, even if the customer's complete moron, idiot, whatever you have there. If you don't want to do business with them, decline and don't do business with them. But don't create enemies. It's just not good for business. Trust me, guys. All right.
Don't say the first thing that pops in your head. It's not usually what you want to say.
All righty. Lalo, where can people find you?
All right. The new site's up and running, betterpctech.com. Check it out. Go to your friends. Go to your mom and dad. It's great. On Twitter, lalonunez.com, DOTCOM. And, of course, my site, lalonunez.com.
There you go. Yes, mom and dads will love Lalo's product.
Yes.
So it's made for mom and dads.
Yes.
No. It's very awesome. It's very geeky. And I highly recommend anybody who hasn't checked out betterpctech.com, check it out, buy the videos. You won't be disappointed. And it's just a good thing to do. All right. That's going to be it for Podnutz Pro for this week. I want to thank everybody for watching, listening, streaming. Tune in on tomorrow night, Thursday, for Android App Addicts and Nuts at Night. That should be a good time. And we'll see you all next time.